Ciao everyone, this is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be talking about the bombshell that Project Veritas dropped on us last week when it revealed that Facebook has gone complete techno-god on us. For anyone who might not know, Project Veritas is an organization that was founded and is led by James O'Keefe. I like to think of them as guerrilla journalists, going undercover into the field to dig out stories that the media, the government, the powers that be don't particularly want us to know about. And they have pulled out some doozies, whether it's revealing that the IRS was actively targeting conservative groups, whether it's revealing that government employees actively peddle socialism while they're on the clock, or just revealing the bias of the mainstream media. Well, last week they did it again when they revealed something that a lot of people honestly I think were expecting. The fact that Facebook is actively biased against and censors conservative thought and speech. Like I said, this really didn't come as a big shock to a lot of people. We've already known that other social media platforms like Twitter and Google and YouTube are biased against conservative thought, whether it's Twitter suspending people on the right for violating hate speech rules that Twitter has, while people on the left can get away with saying just about anything, to Google listing Nazism as the official ideology of the California Republican Party, to YouTube actively going in and making it harder for people to find pro-life videos. So when Project Veritas released the report that Facebook was doing the exact same thing, it didn't really come as a big surprise. So what was Facebook actually doing? According to the whistleblower who came forward to Project Veritas, Facebook's goal was to stop trolling and trolling activity like doxing and raiding, which are good goals, to be sure. But then we get into the details. For instance, what exactly is a troll? In a presentation obtained by Project Veritas, Facebook data science manager Seiji Yamamoto uses the Facebook group the Kekistan Raiders, an alt-right group, as an example of what trolls do and look like. And to be perfectly honest, from the examples that he gave in his presentation, they're jerks. No getting around that. But then Yamamoto did a very clever double take. He used association to link anyone who diverges from Facebook's ideological thinking to the Kekistan Raiders and people who think and act like them. He did this first by defining the Kekistan Raiders as a group which is, quote, unified around a firm belief in free speech and a shared disdain, hatred for SJWs, unquote. He also defined trolls as people who, quote, red pill normies to their worldview, unquote. Which translated just means that you try to use dialogue and argument to get people to your point of view, which is, you know, the whole point of argument and dialogue. So just to recap, if you believe in free speech, if you think that social justice warriors are ridiculous, if you want to use argument and dialogue to actually persuade people that your ideas are right, congratulations, because you are now a troll according to Facebook. No doxing, no raiding, no abusive language or activity is actually needed for this conviction. Yamamoto went on to say that trolls could be identified by using certain words, such as I think I'm pronouncing that right, and normie, using certain memes, and also being friends with people whom Facebook has already decided are trolls. And how do we know that all this is geared towards silencing anybody on the right? Because in his presentation, Yamamoto gave an example of what he described as red-pilling normies. It was a link to a YouTube video about social justice created by Lauren Chen, aka Roaming Millennial. Now, I discovered Lauren's channel here on YouTube about 2 years ago. And if you've followed her too for any length of time, you know that there is hardly anyone more reasonable or even-keeled than she is on or off of YouTube. But according to Yamamoto, there is absolutely no difference whatsoever between her and the Kekistan Raiders. And what is Facebook's answer to all this trolling? Limited bandwidth, auto logout, making sure that comments and posts are not uploaded, and creating a literal climate of fear so that when one troll is either suspended or kicked off of Facebook entirely, an alert would go out to all of the troll's friends for the express purpose of cowering them into submission and silence. Oh, and by the way, this would also automatically go into effect right before elections. And acting as the big old cherry on top is the teensy-weensy little fact that, of course, all of this would be done without any users on Facebook actually knowing that it was being done. Now, the internet and social media has been on fire with this story since last Wednesday when Project Veritas released it. And people have been asking themselves, how could this happen? And isn't it ridiculous that Facebook would link people like Lauren and Steven Crowder and Mike Cernovich and a whole host of other people with actual trolls, people to whom actions might actually have to be taken against? People seem genuinely confused about why Facebook would do this outside of the explanation Facebook is just biased against conservatives. And they are, gang. Don't get me wrong on that. They absolutely are. But there's nothing to be confused about this. What Facebook is doing makes perfect sense. And it makes perfect sense because it's a logical outcome of the your truth, my truth mentality that is gripping the West. This mentality is all around us, and I don't just mean in out-of-the-way blogs and websites devoted to so-called self-help. Just recently, Will Smith told Jordan Woods that she had to quote-unquote take her medicine and speak your truth. Last year, Oprah at the Golden Globes Award told her audience and her listeners that they had to live in their truth. In 2013, Glennon Doyle used the my truth excuse for why she was going to break up her family so that she could live with another woman, and then write proudly about it in the Huffington Post. And the end result of this mentality is that each individual creates their own world. If I'm going to live firmly in my truth, regardless of facts, experiences, history, science, traditions, then I am creating my own world.
A whole new world, a dazzling place I never knew.
Where everything follows my ideas and my rules about how the world should work. And what does a world need? It needs definitions. Whether we realize it or not, the world is an ecosystem of definitions. Whenever we speak, think, write, or communicate in general, we are linking concepts together, ideas and understandings about what things are. So when I say to you, lions, or the lions are big and tawny, or the lions are drinking at the river across from the gazelle herd, I don't need pictures to tell you what I'm saying. The very words like lion, big, tawny, river, drinking give you a clear picture as to what I am conveying. But if I want to create my own world so that I can live in my truth, the old definitions aren't going to always work. So, if I want to live in my truth and I have to create my own world to do so, a world, let's say, where there are such things as female penises, something we will be talking about here on this channel, don't worry, gang, or where institutional racism is still a problem, contrary to what data would suggest, then I have to create new definitions so that my new world can be created so that I can live comfortably in my own truth. And that's why Facebook did this. Filled with ideologues on the left, they've redefined the word troll like they've redefined so many words so that the word would reinforce their ideology, their truth, their worldview. That's why it doesn't matter how ridiculous it looks like to our eyes. They are just being true to their truth. So what's the solution? Well, more and more people are saying that Facebook and the other social media platforms need to be treated by the government as actual publishers and not as neutral platforms. And I'm all for that. Yeah, I know they're private companies, but that excuse doesn't cut it anymore, especially when you realize and think about the fact that these companies are actively lying to us, telling us that they're one thing, neutral platforms, and then acting and behaving as something completely different, publishers. But government action isn't going to be enough because at its heart, this is a war of ideas. What is reality? Is truth objective, subjective, a blend of the two? Do definitions reflect reality, or are they just our playthings? None of these questions or fights can be determined by government legislation, regardless of how good it is. Ideas can only be fought with other ideas, and ideas can only win wars of ideas if people not only imbue and live them, but fight for them. Now you might be saying right now, well, that's great, Nate, but how do we do that? And to be completely honest with you, gang, I'm not 100% sure right now. I'm still working through it as well. But I do know this for sure right now. This war of ideas is only going to be won if individual people decide to join up and fight inside of their spheres of influence, regardless of how big or how small they are. Whether that's reading up on more issues, posting the truth on Facebook, damn the consequences, talking to your friends and acquaintances over lunch or over a beer, I don't know. But that human element, that individual initiative to fight for the truth, is ultimately, at the end of the day, what's going to win this war of ideas. But what say you? If you have any ideas, thoughts, plans of actions about how definitions and objective truth can be defended on an individual level, I would love to hear them down in the comment section below. Well, that about wraps up everything for right now, gang. As always, if you liked the video, whether you agreed with me or not, don't forget to give the video a like. Each one helps me in the channel. Honestly, it does, guys. And if you like videos about the culture, politics, and religion, but from a different POV, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to ring the bell for notifications so that you will always know when I post new videos just like this every Tuesday that is. Videos that you're not going to want to miss. As always, thank you for watching, for giving me a bit of your day. Thank you to everyone who has liked my past videos and who has subscribed to the channel. I am grateful to every single one of you. And I will see you all, gang, here next week on Top of the Stone. Ciao.